Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Plus 3 podcast. I am your host, Ducky Please, and I am joined by none other than Amris Amandel, aka Logan,
What's going on?
and the arcade Buddha himself, Bitch Kamikaze, Justin.
Was good.
And we are back with another episode. So, today we have, I guess, what we could call a pretty deep discussion. There was a Twitter post made by @CaliMac that took off sometime this week that states the following. Learning fighting games is one of the hardest, most rewarding things I have ever done in my life. No BS. People that don't play won't understand, but these games have pushed me to my limit multiple times, and I have learned about myself through fighting games. And we all thought that was a really interesting topic because, well, I mean, I know that I personally have had growth through fighting games or because of fighting games, and I know that these two share that sentiment. So we kind of want to go over what brought that out of us in fighting games, what made us keep going, and what changes came about us through fighting games. If you guys don't mind, I'll start off first, just kind of get it through. So I started seriously playing fighting games, as I've said many times before, back when BlazBlue Central Fiction was really popular. And when I was learning and playing with my cousin and a few friends, there was a point to where I was just losing constantly. And of course it made me upset, but this is also had been the first time that I also wasn't like the top dog in a fighting game. Well, that's not entirely true. Back when I lived in Springfield, Missouri, I was really into Soul Calibur 5, but we also had, I think, Tekken 5 at the time, and I was really good at Soul Calibur 5, but my brother was really good at Tekken, and so oftentimes we'd go back and forth in those games, but usually he'd eke out a win in Tekken, or he would dominate me, but I would go right back and dominate him in Soul Calibur. And that's kind of where we, found our niche, because I was, for lack of a better term, unfuckwithable in Soul Calibur. And my brother, I always put up a damn good fight in Tekken 5 versus him. My Li Chaolon was crisp, let me tell you. But then came a point where I was better than my friends, but I wasn't better than the people online, because I tried playing Soul Calibur 5 online and I lost terribly. Or I was subject to prejudice because apparently people really hated fighting Natsu. I don't know. I don't get it. But then when I was playing BlazBlue Central Fiction, I was playing with my cousin one day, and we were just playing match after match after match, and it was like an 8-hour grind. And I admittedly started to get really tilted, and I got upset, and I started like being a little bit more vocal about it. And then he just kind of recommended that we stopped playing because obviously it was getting to me. And then he ended up, logging off for the night, and I just kind of sat there, controller in my hands, being like, damn, I was unfun to play with. I should change that. So it gave me a different outlook on what winning and losing actually does to you, which is something that I take to other games now. I don't care or mind as much, or I don't put as much emphasis on my wins or loss ratio, because I'm more so trying to have fun with the game. But in a more positive light, and almost in a completely different tangent, that's at that same time, the next day, I practiced really hard. I came back a few days later and I played my cousin, and I had won a lot of our games very convincingly. And then it kind of proved to myself, damn, if I really put my mind to it, if I really go in and I try, I can do it. I can beat anyone, even the person that is my rival that's better than me. I can actually do it as long as I try. Because I'll be honest, I've had trouble in my past with keeping with things or persevering or trying to overcome things. Some call it laziness, some call it depression. I really can't tell you what it is. It's just sometimes I just lose the motivation to do things. And one thing I've never lost the motivation for was to just play and enjoy fighting games. And I think that's really starting to branch out into other aspects of my life. Logan, has fighting games ever affected you in this way? Like, has it ever pushed you to your limit, or made you realize something about yourself, or like interpersonally, like something that you wanted to improve or change? And
So the first fighting game I ever played to any regard at all was Soul Calibur 2. And like I was just playing Weapon Master mode. I was a kid. I didn't have anybody to play the game with or against or anything like that. So like I just blew through that, and like it was, I didn't learn anything. I just learned that if you pick Link and stand next to the edge, you can back throw everybody off and win. And that literally worked for like 99% of Weapon Master.
yeah,
So like I never had to learn, because like I had my cheese strat, heck yeah. But at the end of Weapon Master mode, you have to fight Inferno. And he doesn't have an arena to be thrown off of. He doesn't have walls to be cheesed into.
yeah.
And his AI is really cheap, at least for 6-year-old me. And so like I lost it shows you how many times you've attempted a mission versus how many times you've succeeded in it. And so like all of mine were like, 1 of 1, or like, 1 of like 3 or 4 or something like that. My worst was like 1 of 5 or 6. And at one point I looked and I was like, I am like 1 for like 36. And I was livid. I was like, it's so bullcrap, because I wasn't a fighting game player but yet. And so like I actually it was like, okay, I'm gonna go into training mode. I'm gonna learn like how to like do this and that and a whole bunch of different moves that aren't just throw. And like I actually like learned, a lot about Link that I could do. I learned about like slide inputs and like, certain moves that could like, you could do this move and then you can like do another move as like a combo. That's the sickest thing in the world. And so like I thought that was kind of cool, and that was really where I got my start for like my enjoyment of fighting games. But I never really got to do much with it for a while, because like that was like elementary school. And then in middle school, I had a group of friends that really liked playing Melee. And so that's where I really discovered that like I liked Link and I played Link, but like Captain Falcon was my character in Melee. And I became the best of the group. And the people just, Captain Falcon's this and that and blah blah blah. And so like, excuse me. We hung out like every like couple of weekends, but I noticed that the weekends started getting further and further apart, and it wasn't that the weekends were getting further apart, it's that I wasn't being invited anymore. And you stopped getting invited because you were gonna win. And I mean, like, that hurt. That hurt a lot. Like, my friends don't want to hang out with me because they know they're going to lose to me in this game that we were playing. And I was like, well, why don't we find, like, a different game or something, or, whatever. But, they wanted to play Melee. They stopped inviting me. And, I know now that it was, they were never really my friends. If they were, they wouldn't have. But, and so, like, that really pushed me away from the idea of fighting games for a long time. The rest of middle school, actually, and like this was 6th grade, so like 7th and 8th grade, like I didn't want to like think about Melee. I didn't want to think about playing them anymore. And then I met a buddy of mine who's been a real good friend since 9th grade, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I play Melee," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I did a day or two, I did a while ago." And so he said something about playing, and I was like, I don't know, man, maybe. And so like I was like, you know what? I'll practice up a little bit. I'll get some of my mojo back, and we'll play. And we were like neck and neck. Like we were so close. We went back and forth, and it was like, damn, good shit. Like, oh man, and like if he got like comboed into stomp into knee killed or whatever, it wasn't like, oh, that's bullshit. Your character's horse shit. Fucking bullshit ass Captain Falcon. It was like, damn, bro, that was sick. And I was like, I like this feeling, like having this back and forth, like the rivalry, I guess. And he was like, have you ever played Street Fighter? and I was like, I've never played Street Fighter now. And so I get into Street Fighter because of him. And like he was walking, obviously, this was his other game, and he was walking trains on me, like, so like we sat down, we had the how to Street Fighter talk, and I bought Street Fighter, and like there's a whole new level to combo systems for an input fighter, because like Smash Brothers, it's left and B to do move, and it's like good at melee. Like we were just we were still just early high schoolers, and we didn't L cancel or wave dash or nothing like that. So like just the concept of throwing a fireball was wild to me. Like, what? You gotta do this whole like quarter circle motion just to throw a fireball, and like that gated me pretty hard, like the inputs, and but I was like, he's beating my ass like all the time. I don't take rounds on him. I don't like make him worry. I'm like, God, what do I do? And I was like, and like I know I kind of like refelt the Inferno like fight like forever ago. And I was like, I'm gonna have to sit down, buckle down, and just I'm gonna have to learn. And I did. I played Ken. I learned how to I could do my moves every time. But like, man, like that was a rigorous training thing for me. Like teaching my hands how to do that was just the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. But I persevered, and it took like 3 or 4 months, but I started taking rounds, and not long after that, games. And then, we was right back to being even again. And like that, I did not realize how much I would love that. Just sitting in training mode. Like, I never thought like, oh, well, I'm just going to sit here and la la la. But, that sounds boring. I want to play the game. But like now I do a lot more training mode than anything else in fighting games. Like it's fun to learn like what your character, not only what your character is capable of, but like what you can do against other characters and stuff. And so like that struggle of like learning how to play my character in order to play the matches, like that really resonated with me. And I was like, well, what about other fighting games? And I went off from there. I played Soul Calibur, a whole lot, and Soul Calibur 5 specifically. I became an A+ Nightmare Online. Was really I was kicked from lobbies because I was like, oh, it was that guy, and that felt great. Just online, oh no, not that guy, and they kick you. That's the best feeling in the world.
It honestly is, but it's so different than when you're starting to win and you're kicked out by your friends, because at first it's like, oh damn, like no one wants to play with me because I'm too good. Now you're like, damn, no one wants to play because I'm too good. That's tight as fuck.
Yeah, like if it's your friends, okay, yeah, that hurts. Like back in middle school, that stung a whole hell of a lot. Like random dude be online, fuck that guy. That was awesome. So yeah, like I didn't realize how much like I would enjoy like pushing myself forward, like as a gamer, I guess, in general. Like I started to enjoy like challenging games and stuff like that more. Like I don't think I would have like push myself as hard as I pushed myself to like become a solo hunter in Monster Hunter for like those more like ridiculous fights like solo hunting, like Gogman Geosin 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like even like Phantasy Star, like my main game now. Like the game has the ultra hard, super ridiculous solo bosses like Sodom that I persevered through earlier last week. That shit's hard. And like I don't think that if I'd ever like gotten the mindset for fighting games that I would have just been like, oh well, fuck that, that's bullshit, and just moved on with my life. I really think I would have like just like fuck that. But yeah, fighting games, like they'll teach you a lot about yourself for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I do like the common theme of learning perseverance and learning to push yourself past challenges is a common ground with fighting games. I really enjoy, because that's a lot of what people lose out on as time goes on.
Because I mean that's what you have to learn. Like you're not gonna get good at fighting games if you're not patient with yourself. And like sometimes and different people learn different ways. Sometimes you have to step back. Sometimes you just have to grind it out. But like if you want to play fighting games, and I think everybody should at least try fighting games. Like, I definitely believe that you have to be patient with yourself because you're not going to get it immediately. You're not
Right.
going to get it in a week. You're not going to get it in a month. It took me like half a year of consistently grinding Street Fighter to start taking rounds on a friend of mine. Like,
All right.
so stick
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
You won't regret it.
That's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. Moving forward to you, Justin. How have fighting games pushed you, and have they taught you anything about yourself as you've played them over the years?
Well, you know, I was listening to Logan talk and do his thing, and he really sums it up about like the whole fighting game experience, you know. But for me, you know, I was always a single player kind of guy, you know, growing up, and going online, like, you know, I'd play a little bit of like Counter-Strike and a little bit of like, you know, Overwatch when that was new and everything, and like I didn't care if I win or lose, right? And even if we won, I'm like, well, you know, the team probably carried me or whatever. You don't really get a sense of like ownership over your victories and losses. But when it came to like doing something like fighting games online, if you told me like that like 6-7 years ago that I'd be as decent as I am now, I'd be like, nah, there's no way, bro. I can't even like do a move. like I wasn't even playing them at that time. I still remember there's a notebook somewhere where I took the time to like make my game plan better with Ken back when I was playing Ken in 2016, early 2017, and it's like practice combo, back medium punch, heavy punch, Tatsu. Like the bread and butter, and I was like, gotta get that down. It's very important, and it is very important. But you know, it's all blurry to me as far as like getting better. It didn't really come into focus until I met Logan and started like actually playing with him, and someone who is way more consistent. And the cool thing about playing with him is I saw my own mistakes, you know. And something I still have a problem with nowadays is like, why am I in the corner? Why am I in the corner all the time? Had nothing to do with anybody's corner carry. I walked back. I didn't pressure. I never walked forward because I was like low-key afraid, maybe. Or maybe I'm just defensive, so I'd rather just block it out. But you can't. You have to move forward to gain ground, right?
Right.
So that's just the bare minimum of like the functionality of the game. You know, contrary to my name, I got super tilt. I got extremely fucking tilt.
I think we all do in the beginning, right?
Yeah. And it takes a while to come to terms with that. And here's the thing about tilt. A lot of people ask like, oh, how do I deal with tilt, whatever. And I asked the same thing. I went on Reddit and asked like, hey, how do you guys deal with tilt? And the only comment I got was like, oh, that's really ironic considering your name. And I was like, you know what? Fuck you guys.
Well, true. But it's just a massive ego check, right? And I think that's the hardest part to deal with.
It's a massive ego check, but you also have to learn, like, first of all, you have to get over yourself.
Yeah.
And it's not like saying like, oh yeah, I accept I'm gonna lose. But it goes into this own unique thing. Every person has to deal with something. And like, it can get super, super deep and really fuck with your psychological things, right? Like your psychological processes and like any kind of baggage you have. Because I remember, you know, I was talking to my friend Snake about it. Shout outs to him. Check out his channel. But he'd play Fortnite or whatever, or play whatever, and he'd get angry, right? Like super duper angry. And I'd get angry playing this game, you know, playing Street Fighter all the time. To the point of where, like, you know, heart disease was probably not too far off if I did a few more years of that, like really fucking angry. And we ended up talking about it. It's like, you know what, bro? To put it in a very blanket statement kind of way, in a very generic way, like winning or losing in a game isn't going to bring your ex back. It isn't going to make your friends like you again. It isn't going to solve your issues, pretty much is what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
And you don't think about that in the forefront, but how many times have you guys lost and then automatically you got angry about something else?
Like it carries over. Like,
Yeah.
Like you'll start thinking about something else while you're angry, and it just makes you angry about that thing, even if you weren't necessarily angry about it. Yeah,
exactly.
I've
like
been there more times than I care to admit.
You beeline to something that's bothering you. Fighting games will make you. It's literally the Ryu Satsui no Hado story. Like that's literally everyone that plays. You see something, you see your baggage, and you have to confront that psychologically while you're playing fighting games.
Yeah.
I will say though, it's easier with friends. you know, instead of
It
just some
is
random
easier,
dude
yeah.
online. And I could say with my experience with Tekken recently is that, like, you know, when I was playing you, like, yeah, like I got tilt, but I wasn't tilt at you, and I never did direct anywhere else. I was just frustrated that, like, damn, like I just don't know. But do
Yeah.
you know what I did? I went in training mode and figured it out, and then I felt better.
Yeah, it's kind of the physical embodiment of recognizing your problems and then learning to deal with them. Because the problem is the move or the setup. The only solution is to learn to deal with it, i.e., going into training mode, you know, repeating it, figuring it out, thinking about it critically, which it can also be applied to any problem in life. You know, where do I do with my job next? Where do I go with my career? What do I do with this project that I'm working on? You have to sit down, you have to critically think about it, and you have to enact a plan. And that's kind of what it boils down to, and that's what really helps out a lot, is just being able to critically think or apply yourself to a situation that is frustrating you. And I think that that's also a really solid lesson that we can learn from playing and enjoying fighting games the way that we do.
It's true, and you also have to have like the perspective, right? Because like we see so many people online. First of all, 90% of the FGC don't even play fighting games.
That is unfortunately true.
Yeah.
And they'll go online. I remember you posting that Potemkin clip with Chip, right? And he literally died.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, that is outrageous. And that's cool as fuck.
But on the other side of that, he did make the wrong call, and it's okay. The thing is, it is okay for us to make mistakes. You will pay for it in the now, but you will have the tools and the information in the future, and that's what matters, so you can avoid doing it again. So yeah, it is your fault that you late DP'd into an enemy that had 100% resources, and of course you're going to die for it at that point. But now you know, hey, this I can deal with in a different way to where I don't fucking explode.
Look at the lessons that could have been learned there. People just see the DP blocked into the combo. First of all, he had no awareness of meter management. Doing a DP there was extremely risky and had the risk to reward
Very
ratio
risky.
was not in his favor at all. Didn't he have burst?
He did, but the second he got Heavenly Potemkin busted, it was an unburstable situation because he did
could've
one
burst
hit.
instead of
He
DP.
could have bursted the one hit, but he did not.
Another thing, something that later on I learned, he was in the corner.
Yeah.
Like, get the hell out of the corner.
Well, he put
I would
himself
know,
into
that's
the
my
corner,
home.
really. He put himself into the corner, really. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's okay for us to make mistakes. Like, yes, you will pay for it in the now, but at least you know for in the future, you can avoid these things. And to that poor Chip player who got 100-0'd by that Potemkin player, I hope you learned your lesson.
And
Again-
it's fine to make mistakes.
And again, I'm adding this addendum. Fuck grapplers. I'm not condoning grapplers. I'm just saying that you have to learn from your mistakes.
It's Sagem actually brought a really good point up recently, and that's like, you know, for every hyper stylized character, like Potemkin is a fucking monster grappler.
Yeah.
Okay, that's crazy. Yeah, but things like that should exist, right? But
Right.
naturally, there should be also hyper character counters to that. You know, to keep it very simple, like Zangief Dalsum. You know, Zangief's fucking scary, but Dalsum, like, or even Poison, Manat, like, he's got to struggle to get in. But that's the point.
They don't care that he's scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point. You're supposed to. It's the natural counter to those characters. You know, not every character is going to be balanced. You know, and if they all were balanced, then like
There'd be one character.
it'd be super boring.
Yeah.
Like, I see a lot of people recently. I know Maximilian Dude said something about, like, you know, he thinks Saul's his favorite character. I wish I could have played the beta to give an opinion on that. Saul looks really cool. He's got a very simple game plan of strike throw. You know, am I going to grab you or am I going to hit you? You know, which is the most bare bones mix up in the game. You know, But like, what he finds fun, and what most people find fun, like, oh yeah, big damage combos, whatever. Like, that's with as much influence as they have on the game's, like, you know, perception and everything. Not everyone wants to do big, fat, fucked up combos. Maybe people get more, you know, joy out of like setups. Like with Lei, I don't get like joy from doing combos with Lei. I get joy from when I go into a stance and mix somebody up, and then hit them and it works. I'm like, ooh, tricked your ass, you know. And it's not a lot of damage, but I got you. You know, and it's
into another one. That's the good feeling. You keep the schmicks up.
They don't know how to block it. It's like not a lot of damage, but it just keeps going. And you're like, what? Damn, I just mixed the fuck out of it, dude.
Yeah.
Like that's I kind of like that more.
I like the reverse clip of that Chip torturing that poor Tim.
Yeah, and see, and that's kind of a. I'm trying not to get too like philosophical here, but that also kind of helps with fighting games. Allow you to kind of learn how to express yourself, even if you have, because like you said, like some characters just have tools that other characters don't, and they're going to be naturally better. Which again, that can also be accounted for. Again, trying not to get too philosophical, but that can also account for life. You know, you have to learn to deal with the tools that you're given, not the ones that you don't have, and you can still succeed, which is a really good lesson to learn early on. But also using the tools that you do have to express yourself in, you know, your own special way, because while you derive joy from mixing up your opponents the way that you do with Lei, there's another Lei player out there that enjoys being hyper aggressive with him and showing off and like tricking his opponents in different ways. Or there's that other Lei player that's super defensive, turtly, more so focused on evading and punishing his opponent's attacks and whatnot. And that self-expression, that ability to be different but with the same tools, is also a really good benefit of most modern day fighting games that I really appreciate.
It's very true, right? Like a Street Fighter 4ism that I'm not a big fan of, that people not so much nowadays bring up, is like, you know, combos are like the one way you express yourself. Nah, bro, the way you move, the way you do anything, your choices, you're constantly expressing yourself, right? Street Fighter 5 is a great example of like, damn, yeah, you're gonna be doing that one combo, you know. And some characters really just don't have depth, and that really goes down like the season 1 cast,
right?
But later on, like, there's an optimal way to do stuff, but you can do anything any way you want to, you know.
Yeah, and you can still be successful in it.
To kind of like build on the point of like, you know, having the tools you have and, you know, not worrying about like your weaknesses. So like in fighting games, you should like try to make your weaknesses not as weak, but your playstyle may lean towards like this style or that style, you know, more naturally, right? And you should, if that's the way you want to play, then let's say, oh, I'm more of a defensive player. Okay, what's the difference between a defensive player and someone who just doesn't do anything?
True.
The answer is turning their defense into offense and making the most out of it.
Right.
You know, and with me, for more of a personal thing, like with guitar, I don't really shred, you know. I've got like this really janky, I call it like a Jimmy Page type of shredding, where it's like kind of just this messy blister of notes, you know. But like, you know, you go on YouTube or even Instagram and everything, there's these motherfuckers that can like play way better than I can, you know, speed wise and everything. And I figured that out at an early age, that like, you know, I don't really want to practice to just learn this thing so I can be as good as them about that thing, right? So what I knew I had was a good melodic sense. So I developed that over the years. And I think while my solos aren't the most technically expressive in a way, you can remember my solos a lot better.
Let's move on to our closing thoughts. I just want to get just a quick snippet from the both of you while we give everyone to kind of something to marinate over until the next episode. Since we talked about how fighting games have pushed you and you've learned from them or grown from them, or you found a way to express yourself or whatever it may be, we'll start with you, Logan. Knowing what you have now, and seeing your growth over time, what do you want your next goal, or what do you want to push yourself to become as a fighting game player next? Like, what is your next goal or something that you want to tackle with fighting games? And how can it help you maybe in your personal life, do you think?
I would like to start doing tournaments and stuff.
Mhm.
I need that that game I really resonate with that has a lot of tournaments, I guess, in order to do that, because a lot of the ones that are out right now, like I like Power Rangers a lot, but it's not like it has a very big scene compared to like compared to a lot of other games, and like a lot of the more popular ones, I'm not a huge fan of, like Tekken 7 or like Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
But I think that Strive could definitely start to be that, but I would like to I want to hit that next level, but like I need just the fighting. I need the world to go back to normal.
Yeah. We're right on the precipice. We're right on the precipice. So yeah.
So close.
I think that would be a fantastic next step for you, because you definitely have the heart and the know-how for it. I see it every time that we play. I see it every time that we talk about anything fighting games. Your knowledge and your ability to adapt is second to none. I only wish that I had that so I could properly compete in tournaments, but I definitely think that's going to be a fantastic next step for you, and I look forward to seeing you grow in that as we return to normal. Same to you, Justin. What's your next goal for fighting games, and how is it going to push you in your real life?
Next goal, real talk. I'm getting to heaven and Strive.
That's okay.
I'm getting the top 4. People are gonna know my name. No, I'm kidding. Like, no, but really though, like,
Yeah.
We keeping the gate.
like, that's so cool. Like, you know, being like Warlord or something in Street Fighter, like, cool, but no one actually gives a shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But imagine, like, the way this ranking system works. I'm like, it's still a ranking system. There's still anxiety. You know, I don't know why it's like this. The fact that if you reach heaven, you have to consistently play to stay in heaven, and you get to gatekeep people. What a weird way to, like, the same lessons I had to learn, I'm going to use those to get that good and then teach somebody else, or they can perish.
I like it.
That's a cool idea to me.
Yeah.
Pop off.
As far as
Yeah.
applying it to real life, quite frankly, I've already applied my lessons to real life, you know, with my commission business and everything, and doing tracks for people, staying consistent, doing it well, and learning constantly. Like, it's all there already.
All right. Yeah. And I definitely see it. And I definitely enjoy watching the process. For me personally, and I know you guys have mixed opinions about them as a whole, but my next goal, not only is it to improve or, you know, push myself in a fighting game, but I really want to continue this drive that I have for making content for the FGC and reaching out to people, talking to them, playing games with them, and interacting with them as a whole, because there's just something, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm more so of a people person. When it gets down to it, I'm very personable. I'm sociable to a fault, which I didn't realize until much later in my life. But I want to branch out, and I want to play all sorts of different people from all sorts of different corners and walks of life who have totally different play styles. I want to see their expressions. I want to know what they play like, and I want to incorporate that not only into my own game plan, but, you know, help other people, even those who aren't like the biggest fighting game fans yet, find their style and find their, you know, their way to express themselves in fighting games and enjoy fighting games. And I can use that in real life, because again, I very quickly lose motivation for a lot of projects, but here lately, at least when it comes to, you know, things like the podcast or learning Tekken 7 with you, or just anything fighting game related, I notice that I can push myself to really accomplish a goal if I just stay focused on it. Sure, I will have dips in those times of motivation. I will have those moments of anxiety, and I will have those moments where I feel lesser than, but I do need to remember that those are temporary and that I can push past it and make something wonderful from it. Because I can guarantee you, after the Strive beta ended and I made that Guilty Gear Strive beta in a nutshell video, I was so proud of myself that I still go back and watch it. And just seeing that it has 350 views, it makes me more proud of myself than anything that I've done here recently. And I want to continue to do that. I want to continue to not only make myself proud, but help make other people happy. So that's going to be my next goal.
Oh, yeah.
So
for me to add on something on top
yeah.
of that as well, as a final closing statement. You see all these people in all walks of community, the best players, the best content creators, the best teachers, the best, all the best, right? Like, what makes the difference between the best and like the not best? And it's literally one thing: don't quit.
Yep, that is 100% true. It is just the will to keep going.
The will to keep winning. Buy the book. It's actually a good book.
It is, but to quote Sean, you don't need the will to keep winning. You have to win first. So let's win first.
Very true. One step at a time.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to be it for us today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another wonderful episode here on the Plus 3 podcast. Please be sure to follow us on all of our social media links down below in the description. You can find Logan at Amris Amandel on Twitter, or you can find his YouTube at Heavy Metal Link. Is it 07? 05. Heavy Metal Link 05. You can find Justin on Twitter at Bitch Kamikaze, where he is currently open for commissions for intros and outros and songs for things like streams and whatnot. I actually have one myself. He does fantastic work. Highly recommend that you check him out. Anything else you got to plug, Justin?
These nuts. Nah, that's good.
All right. And of course, you can follow me on most social medias at Ducky Please. That's DuckiePlz on Twitch, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Links will be down in the description below. And tell us how fighting games have helped you in your personal life, or how they've helped you grow as a person down in the comments below. I'd be super interested to hear them. Since there's nothing else, I want to thank everyone again for joining us. I hope you all have an awesome day.